Hello, this Hangout on Air is live. Welcome this morning to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. Okay, well, we have this morning something from a long time ago. This bottle's from 1994, Bellows Club Whiskey, but the company Bellows is from a real long time ago, 1830. Was owned by, later got bought out by Jim Beam and then sold off to Luxco, currently Luxco of St. Louis, Missouri. This is aged 4 years. It is blended at an 80-20 ratio, 80% grain neutral spirits, 20% straight whiskey of some strange sort. From what I can tell, it's strange. Okay. Had to mute that. Forgot about that. We're going up against here at Dawn, waiting for Dawn, a product from only 2016, from what I could tell, King Square blended whiskey. Now, the Bellows is, or was, the club whiskey was bottled in Kentucky. This item, also aged 4 years, is bottled in Florida. Now, when I pour them, you're going to see the difference in color and you'll be stunned. And then you'll get the idea, and I have the idea too, that the King Square does not have any coloring added to it like caramel color. This is what whiskey looks like. Blended whiskey looks like if you don't spruce it up with fakeness. Okay, I bought this at Specs in Texas, and I bought this at International Market in Metairie, Louisiana. So I drive around and pick up things from time to time. Okay, BCW, Bellows Club Whiskey, at all of America's finest clubs. I don't know about that. I did see it at a Chinese restaurant in the bar section, a liter bottle just like this. I said, oh, look, they've got Bellows Club Whiskey. All right. So you can get it at my house and at that Chinese restaurant. All right. No longer produced, to my knowledge. There's King Square. You can buy this at Specs and probably some other liquor stores. It's like in the background is a lithograph. You can't really see it on the video here, but of like a street corner in London, England, I guess. And there's a crown. And I don't know why they have this on the bottle, what it has to do with King Square. I know that Great Britain owned Florida. Okay. Okay, the Kingdom of Great Britain owned Florida, East Florida and West Florida, from 1863 to 1783. 20 years, okay. Yeah, there used to be two Floridas, East Florida and West Florida. And then two pieces of West Florida got chopped off and added to East Florida, and that's the state of oh wait, now let me take that back. I have to look at them. I think West Florida started at it might be right around where the time zone changes in Florida, I think. Mariana, Florida. But you had the Florida parishes in Louisiana. You had that bottom section of Mississippi and that bottom section of Alabama, and then that little piece there, and that was West Florida, and then the rest that we know Florida today, East Florida. And then when the British owned it, they changed the name of Baton Rouge to New Richland. New Richland. That didn't last. Okay, but anyway. So, didn't pour enough of the Bellows Club Whiskey. Hayes says, good morning. Good morning back to you, and I appreciate you watching this video production. I have one more blended whiskey taste challenge coming up this week, and that is the Bellows Club whiskey, the oddest of all oddballs, versus a blended whiskey that, in my opinion, is going to destroy it, and that is Seagram's 7 Crown. But time will tell. We can only say this is what we think. We don't know. So, okay, y'all, it's time to get nice. Look at its appearance. Oh, baby. Now, you can't ever see so well with these things. But look, you could probably tell this one is so light. And this one is so much darker. It's amber. And this one is just clear and nearly like a moonshine, but it has, you can see it has a golden straw color, but it's the lightest whiskey I've ever seen in color, which is making me think they don't colorize it with caramel color, which they do for many Canadian Scotch whiskeys and American blended whiskeys. Now, straight bourbon, they can't have coloring added, so it has to look like it looks. If it's too light, well, then it's too light. Char it longer. Now, my prediction, well, I have to mix these up very well because got something in my throat. I mean, my nose is always messed up because I live in southeastern Louisiana. It's very humid, and we have a lot of stuff in the air, like from chemical plants, oil refineries. But probably is not so much that. It's probably mold and the humidity, and then you might come down here and say, why everybody in Louisiana always got their nose blowing their nose? It's that. They need to go and live in Arizona. And everything would just be covered with mold. So I don't know if that's the best climate. You like chilly, cold weather? You say, well, it doesn't get cold in Louisiana. It doesn't get cold on the thermometer. It just gets cold in the real field. You say, well, 61 degrees is not cold. I know. It's the actual feeling of it, though, with the humidity level we have here, which is so incredible. You'd be quite uncomfortable in 61 degrees. And if there's any kind of breeze, forget it. Look at the 1970 Super Bowl, Super Bowl IV for the 69 season, but 1970. Last game for the American Football League, AFL versus NFL. AFL champions, Kansas City Chiefs versus Minnesota Vikings, NFL champions. It was also the 50th anniversary of the NFL. I believe they wore special patches that year, 50th season. But it was in New Orleans at the old Tulane Stadium, an outside stadium, which was demolished. I had been to one game. I went to one game there. And then we were looking at the stadium when they were tearing it down. There's only pieces of it standing. It's a strange thing to see. But I think the temperature at kickoff was 61. And I know people that were there. I know one guy that was there. I know more than one that was there. He said it was so cold and miserable. And I told him the temperature. He said, no, they're wrong. The magazine's wrong. And I looked up multiple sources. I said, no, it was 61. But if you're just sitting there, not moving for hours, it's going to feel, and you're in the upper deck, you're going to feel much colder. And anyway, that was the temperature at kickoff. Now the temperature may have dropped. And the coldest Super Bowl ever was where? No, not in New Jersey, but in New Orleans in 1972 for the 71 season. It was 39 degrees at kickoff, 39 degrees. Now, it didn't feel too cold that day because it was very sunny and one of those rare days here where it was dry weather, low humidity, but that's not too common here. So I have a friend that was there, and he said it didn't feel too cold. Plus, they said they were drinking the whole time. But I'll tell you one more thing. I find it strange. Alex the Beer Master says, good morning, Ron. Good morning to you, Alex. I find it very odd. To me, it's odd because I read a lot. Well, I would fall asleep in bed at night reading books about football. I just went to the library and they had these books. The Kansas City Chiefs, like a history of them. The Los Angeles Rams, a history of the team. The Cleveland Browns, a history of the team. What was the other book I got on? But I would just always read these books. And I was talking to people yesterday. One man's 52 years old. I said, do you know, and here I'm telling him this. I said, do you know people like Jeremiah, who's like 22? I said, do you know people his age don't even realize that the Kansas City Chiefs and the New England Patriots, who are playing tomorrow, Sunday. What am I saying? Sunday in the American Football Conference Championship. I said, do you know that those people don't even realize that the Chiefs and the Patriots and 8 other teams used to be in a different league? They weren't in the NFL. They played in their own league. Well, he looked at me like bewildered. And he said, what do you mean? Like the AFC and the NFC. And then I looked at him bewildered. I said, what? I said, no, I'm talking about when they were in a separate league and they had their own championship. They didn't play each other. The teams did not play each other. Oh, he tells me, I don't know about that. I could not get over it. It's like, wait a minute. I don't know what's wrong with this chair. Hold on a second. This little decorative thing keeps coming off. I'm going to have to just throw it away. So I was amazed that here's a grown man who theoretically has been watching football his whole life, but probably not really. A lot of people will talk about it, but they don't, when you examine what they do, they don't really watch the games. They just have like a peripheral interest in it. I know people like this. They say, I'm a Saints fan. I'm a Saints fan. What'd you think about the game Sunday? Oh, I went to a play. What? Oh, me and my daughters, we went to a play at the Sanger Theater. We went to see Les Mis. Arrive. I said, well, how are you a Saints fan? And they're playing in the divisional playoffs at home and you went to a play. You might have a interest in the team. You might be favorable. But don't say you're a fan. Because see, me, you can invite me to your wedding, but if you were foolish enough to get married on the day of the big game, then I'll send something. I'm not going to miss the game. Like, check, you got all spring, you could go get married. You said, but we decided to get married on the day of the LSU Alabama game. And the wedding starts at kickoff. It's like, yeah, then you were mad that no one came. All right, to the wedding, except immediate family. All right, anyway. All right, enough rant and raving. But that's my issue. That's the issue I take with people that say I'm a fan. But you went to a play. Okay. Now, I'm not saying you should be a fan. I'm not saying you must be a fan. You must follow the team. I'm not saying that. I'm saying don't claim it if you're not living it. You know what I mean? Because I used to go to Saints games in 1998. Where were all the fans? They had a lot of people there disguised as empty seats. Apparently it was like a costume contest. 30,000 people missing. You could go to Harris and play at the casino. If you played for 1 hour, you could get 2 tickets for $2 a piece for the Saints game. But that's when they would win 4 and 5 games a year, you see. So people are funny about that. They ride the bandwagon. And now, so when Bellows Club Whiskey gets real popular and everybody starts drinking it, don't get on there bandwagon and get on Facebook to my look, I'm drinking Bellows Club Whiskey. Actually, that will never happen. And you're about to find out. If you taste it, you'll find out. That will not happen. All right, here we go. All right, calm down. Calm down. Calm down. Okay, the aroma over here, I can't look because the appearance is so divergent that you would immediately know. Smells just like old grain alcohol. There's an alcohol burn in the nose. What do you expect? It's 40% pure alcohol. And I don't understand. They got people that's drink it, and say, I was so sick. Somebody told me last night, I was drinking Everclear. I was sick for 2 days. It was like, okay. It's not designed to drink. It's designed to be a base for making products. That's like what teenagers with bad decision making do. These are adults talking about this. Oh, ooh, ooh. Now here we have grain alcohol with some very peculiar elements. You notice I didn't jump back when I sniffed this. What? You know what I'm saying? I just, okay. Now here, there's a candy sugar sweetness and an oddity to it. I don't know. I shouldn't have done the rant and rave, but I get these things in my head and I just can't help it. I got to talk about it. Taste. Oh, well, that has a pretty high and rather strong rye note. See, I think maybe, this is much more theory than fact, I think that with these blended whiskeys, they might jack up the rye notes or ratio on these to try to give them a little more flavor to compensate for the fact that it's 80% just moonshine, grain alcohol, grain whiskey, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same thing. It's just clear alcohol made out of corn with relatively no flavor or aroma. It's a filler. The taste is the flavor is coming from that 20% straight whiskey that's blended in. And it could be numbers of straight whiskeys. You look at, we did the Dewar's white label. Up to 40 different whiskeys in there. It could be 10 different single malts. Same thing with the J&B. 42 whiskeys blended in. Now, you know, it might be 30 different column still grain whiskeys and 12 single malts. It's still incredible that they would have that complex of an arrangement. And then I remember reading an old Seagram's, not Seagram's anymore, but Seagram's 100 Pipers advertisement from 50 years ago, and they were saying they used over 100 different grain with 100 different whiskeys in it. I said 100. And it was a big technical article advertisement. Oh, these show these men in lab coats and women in lab coats. These people have to take great care, and it's so complex. It's so complex. But leave it to us, and you just drink it, and you'll love it. 100 Pipers, 100 Pipers. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I have a bottle of that. Not the 12-year age, just the old 3-year age. All right. Let's taste this. That's it. I'm giving up drinking. Oh, wow. And if you can survive. Ain't no doubt about that, baby. Ain't no doubt about that, guys and dolls. This is the Bellows Club Whiskey. Is it good? Well, it's memorable. That mint. What is up with the mint? Okay, well, there's no use hiding my eyes now. I know what it is. Maxwell says, hello, Ron. Hello to you, Maxwell, over there in Russia. Cesar Senro says, good morning, Ron. And then the PAB production says, morning. Well, good morning to all of y'all. I see a little daylight, but not much. Well, there's the Bellows Club Whiskey. I knew it. I don't even have to look at the label. I mean, there's the label, but the color gives it away. Oh, why is it so strong with the rye? I keep saying someone made a prank. It's like literally somebody at Jim Beam Company back in 1994 said, hey, you want to do something funny today? They were bored, you know. They just start dumping rye in there. This will fix them up. Okay, well, it worked because whoa, woof. Teeth chattering. It's so, yeah, I like bold flavors and I like super hot food and all of that. But this one is just so incomprehensible. Like you can't describe it. It's so bizarre. Now the King Square, all right. I talked about that, I do believe, if I recall correctly, year ago, over a year ago, whatever it was, a year ago. I do believe I talked about the rye content on that. I was talking about it, you know, and I said, yeah, it's smooth though. This thing is so smooth. And it has some rye notes. Let's see, what else does it have? Mm. Well, corn sweetener, but the overriding, yes, the overriding flavor here is rye whiskey. Now you say, no, no, you're crazy, you're cracked. You've gone out of your mind. You do too many videos. You've lost it. No, I haven't gone out of my mind, and I haven't lost it. I know what I'm tasting, and I only paid $5.99 for this bottle. I believe it was $5.99. It might have been $6.40. Oh, it was some low price at Specs. When I saw Auburndale, Florida, and the strange clear, the way it was so clear, I said, oh, I gotta buy it. Well, there it is. I mean, it's just rye whiskey. I don't know what else to say to you. Tastes pretty good. Let's check this thing. I think I know what happened. And I'm not kidding about this now. You would never think a company as big as Jim Beam could make such a catastrophic mistake. Oh, but big companies make big mistakes. I used a Visa card one time on a road trip at the hotel, and then I got back home and I got a bill from a different Visa card, you know, a different Visa bank. I said, well, how could I have used this card? I didn't even take it with me on the trip. I used this other card. Oh, no, you're just confused. You need to send a receipt to prove that. I said, I'll be able to do that. And I had the receipt, and I made a photocopy of it, and I sent it, clearly showing that it was the card I had with me and not the Visa card I had left at home. Now you say, how could that be? I think that whatever Visa, right? Visa, remember it used to be called Bank Americard? Their main computer system complex, whatever it is, routed the charges to the wrong card. I think that's what happened. It was not what you would call a human error. It was a computer error, like the HAL 9000. It routed the charges to the wrong card. And I think what happened here in 1994, I think that they poured Old Overholt in a bottle of Bellows Club whiskey. Like their production line got screwed up, and it was supposed to be finished with the Old Overholt, but some Bellows bottles came by and they poured that in there. And but Walmart has the Old Overholt for $15.50, something like that for a bottle. And then the Dornet says the Old Overholt Red Label, the bonded, the 100 proof. It's about $2 more or something like that. But I don't. This does not taste like. It doesn't really look like an American blended whiskey so much, and it doesn't taste like it. It tastes like a rye whiskey, and not as good as Sazerac rye, by the way, I might add. You say, no, that's not possible. They could never make an error like that. That could never happen at a huge company like that. But don't they have recalls sometimes for mass-produced products, food products, and beer, and wine? I hear about these recalls all the time. Alex says, hey, Ron, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Talk to you later. You too, Alex. It just doesn't taste like blended whiskey. It tastes like rye. Well, I know rye whiskeys can be blended and just have a predominant rye. A lot of them, if you read the label, it's not 100% rye. It's just a predominance of it. And they're allowed, there's some specification they're allowed to call it rye whiskey. But this thing, See, I don't think this is why I'm thinking that international market got a hold of it and was able to sell it for $8.99 a liter. It was like there was some problem with it. It got sent into the salvage grocery chain. Now, this, you say the salvage grocery chain. There's a salvage grocery circuit in this world where these grocery stores and outlets sell salvage food. You say, what do you mean by salvage? Well, let's say, for instance, a grocery chain goes out of business and they have all this stock. People will come along and just buy it, and then they'll sell it for a way, really marked up. Or there's a 18-wheeler wreck and it goes all over the road. Or it's short dated, the stuff's just about to go bad, and they'll come buy it up and sell it. There's a place on Louisiana Highway 48, Jefferson Highway, Louisiana Highway 48. It's called the Salvage Store, and they sell all kind of weird products like this. Like they had the wild turkey with this camouflage bottle design. I never saw this camouflage. It looked like the Navy. Remember when the U.S. Navy had these camo, blue and silver and white camouflage? They were kind of ugly uniforms that they've been discontinued, I think. It looked like that. And it was almost like Campari made the wild turkey and then said, oh, that's terrible looking. Pull that label. And then they just salvaged it out. Kind of like the Beatles' Yesterday and Today album. They said, what are you thinking? Are you insane? And this seems like a product like that, like something happened. I don't mean it was rancid or it was bad. I just mean it got misbottled. I mean, I really do believe this could be the case. I'd have to try another, but I can't get them anymore. You can't get this product. So, or maybe it was just a weird blended whiskey all along and they got rid of it because people didn't like it. I don't know. I don't know the answers to these riddles. These mysteries. If you could taste it, you could tell me, because I can't figure it out, man. Let's go back over to the King Square. It's an unusual product in its own right because it's so terribly light. But that's just because I know they didn't add the caramel color. Now, if you look on this company's website, Caribbean Distillers, whatever, they have a website. They don't show this on there. They show a straight bourbon that they produce, or at least sell. Then they show their blended whiskeys, which are canned, like a Foster's can. Different cans of blended whiskey, a regular flavor, like the Bird Dog has a regular flavor. And then all these flavors, like apple and blueberry and all that. I said, yeah. But I would like to try the canned blended. It'd be something, the unflavored. Yeah, see this one, the King Square, it smells and tastes and feels and finishes like a rather good American blended whiskey. Like it has nice qualities. There's some, oh, well, of course, corn alcohol in the nose. That might just make you just so upset. But there's some floral notes like the honeysuckle flower, nectar like you get in the springtime. And there's sourdough bread, I think, a sourdough bagel, and some corn muffin, of course, like Jiffy corn muffin type thing, corn bread, corn flour even. So all of these things. So, and the flavor has it's a smooth, though. It's smooth. It just smooth. It just glides across your mouth and there's a slight mintiness, but it's not too profound. There is the rye note, but it's at the end of the sip, and it's just there for character. They just throw that in as a character enhancer, I think, for these blended American whiskeys. Remember, blended American whiskey would generally be about 80% grain neutral spirits. Could be 75 if you're looking at a better one. And then 20% straight whiskeys of whatever variety. It doesn't matter. They can put whatever they want in it. Could be wheat whiskey, could be corn whiskey. It could be 100% corn. It could be 80% corn, distillate, the clear stuff, and it could be 20% corn liquor. It could be corn whiskey, straight corn whiskey, you know, aged in an uncharred barrel. There is no rule about that, but the practice, the general practice, right, is that they would add 20% straight bourbon whiskey. That's usually what they add to the American blended whiskeys. And even some liquor stores, they'll have it they'll sell it and they'll say it's bourbon. And it's like, that's not bourbon. That's blended whiskey. But then they'll be confused and be like, no, it's blended bourbon whiskey. No, it's not. That's a separate category. Blended bourbon is a separate category. It has to be 51% straight bourbon. Can't be, you know, can't be some 80-20 blend. But they don't even know, like, they're just selling it. They'll say bourbon. Like the Beams 8-Star. This is an interesting bourbon. I'll say, no, it's not a bourbon. Although it's made with bourbon. Okay, now this tastes like, might be made with bourbon. I don't know what it's made with, 20% something, but I just described the wheat whiskey and the rye and the overall mild. Everything about this is mild and mellow. So if you like a mild and mellow whiskey, that is probably going to be used for mixed drinks, cocktails, highballs type thing, it'll work. And for straight neat sipping like I just did, it's very nice, very pleasant. I think it was one of the great values in my purchasing, being so low, so inexpensive. Now this one, on the other hand, is much more challenging. And I told you already, when I did the solo review, it was pleasant and all, but it started to break down in competition. That's where you watch your football team at practice and say, boy, they look good this year. They look good. Yeah, but when the game starts, when it matters, a lot of teams look good and then they have a 1-11 season in college football, be 1-11, 1 win and 11 losses. Why? There were deficits that you did not notice during the practice, the training camp. You couldn't see them, and they just weren't there. And then the first game they beat like a lower team, and you say, look at them, they're hot. They won 55-10. Yeah, but they played Texas Southern. Texas Southern's weak, you know, and so you get it's like Buddy Deliberto used to say on the radio, it's a mirage. It's a mirage. A lot of these things are a mirage. Then when the real games kick in, the next week you play at Auburn, you say, oh, I can't believe it got to be 49-16. And now this is how this is turning out. Maybe the original solo review was a mirage. The only other explanation is not that it was a misbottling, which is probably unlikely, really. But perhaps, and you'll never find out because they're never going to tell you. You can guarantee, now that you can guarantee. You can guarantee that they will never tell you what they used in it. They'll just give you a form letter response. You know, those form letter responses. We appreciate your interest in our company, and we regret to tell you that Bellows Club Whiskey is no longer produced by the Beams Suntory Company, and it was the entire Bellows line was sold off to Luxco in October of 2011. And for further information, you could contact the company, and here's a link to the company, blah, 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 blah. Thank you very much for your interest in the wonderful world of Beams Suntory products. You know, that's what you'll get. You won't get an answer, not a real answer. But maybe they added the 20, maybe the 20% straight whiskey is actually old overhauled. Now that would make more sense than some kind of misproduction, because remember, they're not required to use bourbon. It just has to be straight whiskey. So, well, this could be the case that they gave me. Maybe when they made Bellows at Beam, the 20% straight whiskey was in fact old overhauled, and they wanted to make a distinctive blended American whiskey. It's distinctive, but I don't know if it's good. It's so strange. But I got to say one thing, it's memorable. You won't forget it. You won't drink this and say it's run of the mill. Now you might say it's bad. I wouldn't dispute that necessarily, but you couldn't say it's just nothing, you know. It's memorable. Cesar says, have you thought of having a seminar with the rest of us all? Smiley face, smiley. I don't know what that means, a seminar. We had seminars in a sense. I should have kept the video, but when I did the question, it was like a debate. Resolved. I should have called it that. Jack Daniels is a bourbon. And then I had some people on Facebook immediately jump onto that video and say, they were going to come at me and say, no, you're wrong, Jim. Jack Daniels is not a bourbon. That went on about an hour. That was like a seminar because I was able to very clearly demonstrate. Very clearly, I was able to demonstrate that Jack Daniels is, in fact, a bourbon. But it is marketed as a Tennessee whiskey, which is only a legal entity in the state of Tennessee. You understand what I'm saying? Tennessee whiskey is a legal concept within the state of Tennessee. There's no legal reality to that style of whiskey outside of the boundaries of Tennessee. This is, in fact, the case. So that video, I should have kept it. But that was sort of like a seminar, and they jumped on that quick. Boy, Rajay was on that like white on rice. But his defense was poor, I thought, because he said, I mean, it was a pleasant video, but he said his basis for his argument that Jack Daniels was not a bourbon was that he worked at a bar for 6 years, or he might have said 8 years. He said, and his customers generally did not consider it a bourbon, but rather a Tennessee whiskey. Now, that may be true at that particular bar in that particular town. That may be true. It may be true in every bar. But there's no legal basis. That doesn't, you know what I'm saying? That doesn't fulfill the legal requirements of what a bourbon is. If you get on the Tax and Trade Bureau website, it doesn't say bourbon is what people at a bar consider it to be. It says a bourbon is what the law considers it to be. And that's very clearly written. And it gives a lot of wide range of, you can wiggle around in there quite a bit, but the law is very clear. All right, so enough of that. This was a very confounding taste challenge, which I expected it to be somewhat. I didn't expect it to be a challenge. No, it was no kind of challenge. On aroma only, you had it down. I mean, you could see I had it down, but then with flavor, instantly, there's no question. Bellows tastes like nothing else I've ever tasted. It's unique. But it was confounding in the sense that the flavor was so strange, you almost can't get a handle on it. And in 2 days, when it goes up against 7 Crown, no, that won't be a challenge. And I don't think it'll be much of a contest because I think Seagram's 7 Crown is such a much more superior product than any of the other American blended whiskeys I've ever tried. Yeah, the King Square is very nice, but it can't handle Seagram's 7 Crown. The Beams 8-star comes close, but it can't measure up. I think the Seagram 7 Crown wears a crown, 7 crowns, because it really is the king of American blended whiskey. And that's why it wears a crown. Oh boy. Thanks for watching this video production.